Okay. It kills me how much we love the underdog stories. I mean, have you seen a Rocky movie? Have you seen all of them? They're all great, except for maybe number 5. I don't know how good that one was, but we love these underdog stories. I mean, it's the same with a Cinderella team making it to the playoffs. We cheer them on, we root them on, we love to see this kind of stuff happen. The 1980 Olympic hockey team. Fascinating. If you've seen that movie, they did a movie about it, Miracle on Ice. Great movie, bring you to tears, see grown men crying, cheering. There's also those great stories that we love as Americans. Things like the rise of Abraham Lincoln. He made it through all those failures before finally he rose to the level of presidency. He was voted in. We celebrate things like that. We say we really value those things. It's the American ideal. We want to start low, work our way up, and we love the underdog. So we say. The reality is we don't. We don't truly love the underdog. We don't look for underdogs to be heroes. We look for people who are bright. A lot of people that we think would look like us. We expect them to fit some kind of paradigm that we have. We don't go looking for underdogs to be heroes. Sometimes we just miss it. Out in theaters right now is the movie Hacksaw Ridge. Has anyone seen it yet? Great movie. If you get an opportunity, take some time, particularly with the weekend coming up, take some time to go see that movie. It's a true story about Desmond Doss. Now, World War II story, he went to the Pacific Theater and fought there against the Japanese. When he enlisted with the intent of serving our country. That's what he wanted to do. Except he had made this vow. He wasn't going to pick up any weapons. He vowed that he wouldn't take up arms against anybody. So he shows up at basic training, and he's going through all the motions. He was a real scrawny guy, too. People looked at him like he was a little bit nuts. I mean, you signed up for the military, but you're not willing to pick up a weapon. How are you going to defend yourself? Well, he went through the ringer. The guys in his squad, they looked at him like he was a fruitcake. He was nuts, even dangerous, because if they got out in the field someplace and they needed to count on him to pick up a weapon and take somebody out, he wasn't going to do it. They made things tough on him. Now, us watching the movie, we're celebrating. We're cheering him on because he's sticking to his vow. Now, throughout the movie, they belittle him. They beat him. They even throw him in prison. He refused to obey a direct order about qualifying on the firing range. So we cheer that on. But the guys in the squad didn't. It went to court. Throughout the court trial, they ended up releasing him. He was able to go off to war with everybody else as a medic. His goal was to go out and save people on the battlefield instead of take lives. The first battle that I know of in the movie, they show up at some island in the Pacific, huge cliff that they have to climb up the nets. The guys, wave after wave, go up against these Japanese bunkers. First day they're there fighting, and finally take out the bunker. They start taking ground, and then night comes. And in the middle of the night, Doss is out running around finding soldiers who have been left on the battlefield, who were hurt and wounded, grabs them, brings them back to where it's safe. The next morning, the Japanese got their soldiers together, and they came and they overran our guys. Our guys traveled all the way back down the cliff, but Doss remained out there on the battlefield trying to save people. He was behind enemy lines at that point and under fire. And this guy that the squad wanted to take out because he was different, because his ideas were radical, that he was going to be a little bit of a danger to them, this one man saved 75 men off that cliff, lowered them down that cliff one at a time, all night the next day, until his soldiers were able to come up the next morning and relieve him. One man saved 75 people without firing a shot. That's a hero. But we don't look for the underdog to be the hero. We look for people like us. Now, Isaiah knew about an underdog who was coming, who was going to be a hero. And we can read about him in Isaiah 53, 4 through 6. I'm going to read about it out of the NIV. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him. By his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. Now, a lot of us read that, we hear Jesus. We recognize him in the story. We know Jesus is that underdog, that unsung hero who is coming around and who's going to save people. People in that time, they didn't know that. They were looking for a hero that was going to fit a different paradigm. They had a different idea of what the hero was supposed to look like. And it wasn't this baby born in a manger. It wasn't this carpenter from Nazareth. Now, if we were there, our idea of the hero would have been different too. They looked at Jesus as though he was a little radical, a little crazy, not quite in his right mind. And if we were there with him, kind of like in a lot of things, we find people who are like us and we lock arms with them. They're our tribe, they're our people. And we will protect them, we will build them up, we will support them, love and encourage these people, and we will even take on all comers, arm in arm. And that whole time, sometimes we slip into this thinking of us versus them. And we become a lot like Dawson's squad, where things that are different, things that don't really match us, things that aren't like us, we kind of belittle sometimes. And sometimes we may even work to take them out if they appear to be a danger to us and our norms. And that's how the Pharisees were looking at Jesus. If we had been there at that time, we would probably be in the camp of the Pharisees. We'd probably be in that club. The Pharisees at that time thought Jesus was a flake. His ideas were radical. At best, he was a little fruity, and at worst, he was dangerous and needed to be eliminated. But we know that Isaiah's prophecy was fulfilled, that in time, they did manage to take him out, but he came back. He came back as a hero. See, Jesus knew it was going to happen. He was sent. He volunteered for it. The whole time, he was thinking about the end result. He knew the hero that he was, even if we didn't recognize him. He was going to save people. He saved thousands and thousands and thousands out there on that battlefield without ever firing a shot. All the stuff that was supposed to come to us, all the pain and suffering that we should endure, he took on himself, saving people, rescuing them, dragging them from the battlefield bloodied and bruised, taking them to where they could find refuge, taking them to other people that could help bring them back to life, help rejuvenate them, help sustain them. That'd be us on the sidelines. You know, a lot of people on the sidelines will look out there in the battlefield and they'll see Jesus out there rescuing one person after the next, after the next, after the next, dragging them back to safety. And we will gladly receive them. We'll build them up. We'll work with them. It's a good place for us. But Jesus expected a little bit more. I mean, if it were us dragging us from the battlefield, we get to the sidelines where it's safe, people build us up, and we get encouraged, and before you know it, we're in a new club. We're not in the old club that we used to be. It's kind of like in a lot of those teeny bopper movies. If you remember any of those, some nerd by some freak accident ends up getting in with the in crowd, and all of a sudden he's popular. And as he's popular, he enjoys all the accolade and all the attention that's brought to him. And in time, he kind of forgets from where he came. And it doesn't take too long before the pride catches up to him. He'll fall. We get to see the movie play out where everything's reconciled. But that doesn't always happen for us in real life. It doesn't always happen the same way. Sometimes we just get stuck in the new club. It's a new club, but it's still us versus them. Just a new us. It's not what Jesus wanted for us. I mean, it's kind of hard to think of the church like that, some spoiled teenage brat who thinks that they're better than everybody else. I mean, you wouldn't know anyone in a church like that, would you? Well, maybe not your church, but I know that church up the street, they've got a couple of people down there like that. It's just rough sometimes to think we go from one club to the next, and we carry this attitude with us about it's us versus them. And whether it's deserved, whether it's really us or not, we're in that crowd, and the label fits all of us. And it's not a label that's becoming of Christ's bride. It's not why he came. He didn't come to make us a new group. He didn't come to save us and make us exclusive again, just in a different way. He came to love people, love all people. He wants to love them through us. He wants us to extend to other people the same grace that we receive, the same love that we receive, the mercy that we have. He wants us to take it on ourselves, give it away, to go out on the battlefield with him, by his side, rescuing people, dragging them out of the muck and the mire of the battle, bringing them to where it's safe, leaving them with other people who can nurse their wounds, tend to them, and build them back up so that we can all go out and get one more. He didn't save us to become a new club. He saved us to go out and get one more. He had all this in mind. It wasn't us versus them. He had all this with all of us in him. He wants to love them through us. An example of this, it's maybe a silly example, is Penn Jillette. Do you guys know Penn Jillette? He's a comedian, magician, Penn and Teller. Okay, so Teller doesn't talk. Penn's a big guy who talks a lot. He talks a lot. And he does a video diary. You can find it on YouTube. He talks about this one story where he was approached by somebody who had seen one of his shows and wanted to share a Bible with him. Now, Gillette's an atheist. He's vocal about it. Now, he's not in your face where he's going to cuss you out if you think differently than he does. He's fine with you thinking whatever, but he doesn't believe in God, and he makes it perfectly clear in his video diary of this situation. But what he also makes perfectly clear is the respect that he had for this man. This guy went out on the battlefield to rescue somebody who he saw was hurt and wounded. He talks to Gillette about faith. He talks to Gillette about the Bible. And in a humble fashion, he lets him know he just loves him, just cares for him. And Gillette says, I knew he cared for me. I knew he was watching out for my best interest. Now, he wasn't saved by this experience, but the thing that sticks with me was a quote that Gillette has in that video. It says, how much would you have to hate somebody to not proselytize them if you were convinced that there was a heaven and a hell? He respected that man because he was willing to go out there and proselytize somebody. He was willing to take the grace and mercy that he had received and extend it to other people. That one guy knew that it wasn't us versus them. He knew it was all of us and him. That's just one story. You probably know several others. You can probably go on for a while, but we need to keep time short. The fact of all this is that Jesus came for that. He came to rescue us from our muck and mire. I mean, he wasn't the hero I was looking for. I don't even know I was looking for a hero when he rescued me off the battlefield. He saved me, and I came to find him as the mightiest warrior, the biggest hero of all time. And he wants us to take that same kind of notion and go out and reach other people, and love on other people the way that he would love them. We were told by Jesus himself that they would know us by our love for one another. I don't think that the one another he was referring to was just a new club. I think the one another that Jesus was referring to was all of those that he came to save. That's everyone. It isn't us versus them. It's all of us and him. And that's why he came. And that's why he's our hero. Thank you.